GM, everybody. Welcome to Product Office Hours. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully Willie comes at some point. But we're going to kick it off. There's a Zoom link in the stage chat for anybody who wants to follow along with what we're doing. Today is a good day to join that Zoom link because we have a lot of stuff to show you. I am going to share my screen. Cool. So hopefully you guys can see that. So I'm just going to touch on the immediate roadmap and go over some bounties. And then we are going to show you guys our first look at data now that Pendo's been up for about 7, I think it went up, last Wednesday or Thursday. So we have about a solid week of data that we can show you guys and talk through a little bit there. We are working through some changes to the trade UI to accommodate the various scenarios with fees and estimations across the different protocols like CalSwap, ThorChain, Osmosis, and 0x. So all of them have some differences that we need to accommodate, and therefore we've been working through how we can make our UI flexible for each of those, and then and make it better than it currently is, of course. And then we've started concepting a new project on the product side for how to display a user's DeFi positions across multiple protocols, similar to like Zapper or Xerion. But how do we do it better? So Willie's going to talk about that a little bit. And then Decentralized Jay is going to go over an Excel spreadsheet that he's been working on, or I guess, well, it's a Google sheet, where it kind of does some calculations based on revenue streams, and you can plug in numbers and kind of see what turns out. And anyway, he's put a lot of work into that, so he wants to show that off. And that's also something that anybody can use. So it's a pretty cool tool that he's made. And then Gray Machine is going to go over some marketing minutes. Please post your questions in the stage chat. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to just jump into it. So again, all of this stuff, as I say every week or every other week, can be found in Notion. We have a product and creative services section, and you can find all the details here. So as you guys know, Pendo wrapped up. So analytics are live on app.shapeshift.com. CalSwap is almost done. We have one little piece that we need to account for in the trade calculation, the fee display that we're working through right now. Osmosis trading is almost done. Staking is done. And then liquidity, the spec is done. The designs are done. We're just waiting to kick that off with all the Osmosis guys. We're trying to get a time in place that we can all sit down together and break that down. ThorChain trading is also almost done. Idle finance, that's in flight still. That was picked up by the Idle team themselves. That is expected early August. The YAT bounty, we are waiting to hear back from Linum Labs. We synced up with them yesterday to talk about the revised scope of work, given the fact that we don't have a back end. The scope of work from when we initially kicked off that project, for the way that it got de-scoped based on what our limitations are, we had to renegotiate the price for that bounty. So we got the price way down, which is awesome. Avalanche support is almost done. I think there's just one more ticket that I saw today that's in progress. And then that one should cross the finish line. Core engineering workstream, they are working on MetaMask snaps right now. Postigos in particular is handling that one. Axelar Bridge. So I should say our fabulous Beard here created like a fake UI in his local environment. Well, it's a real UI, but it doesn't actually do anything. But it looks like it does something. So we basically made a fake bridge to showcase for the pitch to go after that grant money. So I was talking with Willie the other day about the pitch, and it's looking pretty good. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that will nail it and hit a home run and get some of that funding. Yieldies, the spec is pretty much ready to go. We already have the user flow for this one, so hopefully we'll be kicking off that one soon as some of these other projects wrap up with the core engineering team. Thorchain LP, that's another one coming down the line. We need to work through the spec on the product side for that one, but the UX is ready. And then the new DeFi page and displaying DeFi positions that I mentioned, Willie's going to show us today. And then external bounties. So we're looking at bountying some additional Cosmos zones. We were actually just chatting with Kevin about that. We just need some more documentation to be able to support anybody who would come in and pick up a bounty like that. The app migration, originally this was being done by a third party. I need to update this, but I believe Major Hayes has been contacted now, and he's going to be the one taking on this migration work. Wallet Connect Part 2, we are working on this spec and UX on the product side. I actually think the spec is done, so we're just working on the UX part of this. This is allowing you to connect to other dApps using Wallet Connect through ShapeShift. And so we're planning to have the UX ready for that next week. So hopefully we'll be able to show you guys that in our next office hours. There's a lot. What else can I talk about right now? Okay, bounties. So Fox ETH liquidity pools. The UX is done. The spec is done. That bounty was posted last week on DWork. That was picked up by Stacked Q, and the development work has started for that bounty. So that is getting the Fox ETH liquidity pool into app.shapeshift.com. Right now, it currently just exists on the Fox Farming page externally. And then the Fox Farming bounty, that one also went up on DWork, but after talking with DeFi, we're going to hold off on the farming part until LP is done. And then once LP is ready, we're going to kick off the Fox Farming bounty. And we already have a bunch of applicants that want to pick up that bounty. And then another one we're hoping to have the bounty ready and probably put it out in the wild next week is for Mount Paralin, which is a fiat ramp provider. It's for international users, not US users, but there is no KYC for purchases under a specific amount. I don't remember off the top of my head. Gray Machine probably knows that since he's been working on the spec for that one. And we had done a bounty. We were working on a bounty for the Cosmos Osmosis staking dashboard, but then Darwin came in and saved the day. He had already created a dashboard for this. It doesn't really have like the fancy charts we were hoping for, but it covers the data we were looking to receive with this dashboard. So for now, we're going to put that bounty on hold. And we have a link to this here and in the product section for anybody who's ever interested in any of the data that you can access. We have a data and analytics section here. So that dashboard is available now here as well. So thank you, Darwin, for that. Pretty awesome. And then, as you guys know, Doge was the first UTXO chain, and then the others are in flight right now. So over the next week or so, we should start seeing more of those chains ship to prod. Okay, I'm going to stop because I'm monologuing again like I always do. All right, no questions that I see. All right, cool. So I just went through everything. Okay, now I'm going to jump into Pendo. So this is about a week's worth of data, like I said before. So here's our dashboard. So we had some issues with tracking some of the features when we first shipped, but we got that solved. So we've been tracking feature clicks now for probably like 4 or 5 days. But when we look at our visitor overview, so like today, the daily active users are 313. This also excludes any testing environments, local environments. None of that data is rolling into here. It's just app.shapeshift.com. So our monthly active users, this just keeps going up. If you guys want to make bets on where we get by at the end of a month, please do so. Yeah, so right now we're looking at about close to 2,000 MAUs. My assumption is based on the way that this data keeps rolling in, we're going to be looking at 4 or 5K by the end of the month or by the end of a month. So yeah, super excited about that. We will start putting together reports in the future, but right now, what we're just trying to do is make sure everything's tracking properly, identifying any areas where we missed some tracking. And then as the data starts rolling in over the next few weeks, we're going to establish some baseline metrics from which we can measure against going forward. We'll be looking at trends and engagement metrics and identifying like most and least used features. as we get more data, we're going to start analyzing user journeys and looking at drop-offs. So we'll be starting to create funnels and paths and identifying any areas there might be potential pain points in the user journeys. We're going to look at patterns in user behavior before we launch a feature and after we maybe launch a feature. And then potentially if we make changes to a feature, we will look at the data before we make the changes and after we make the changes to make sure we're not impacting the performance of that particular feature. We are thinking about introducing some guided journeys. They would be optional for users. We have the potential to do guides inside Pendo. We didn't launch with any guides because we wanted to make sure everything was tracking and working smoothly. And then we can start to potentially roll out guides, especially now that our new DeFi modals are all up and running and they all follow the same design patterns. It'll be much easier. And then one of the other things that we'll be able to do with this tool is we can start to ask users questions. We can run a survey, things like that. So yeah, a lot to come. This is still the early days, but we're really excited to see the data roll in and see what our users are doing. So one of the, I think the biggest surprise for me, I think, was the fact that we're trending at about 32% mobile users. Obviously, once we wrap the web app to become our mobile application, I would imagine that's going to jump up quite significantly. But yeah, I was surprised considering we still have our mobile application in the App Store, that we have so many users on mobile with their phones using app.shapeshift.com instead of the actual application itself. Our most used feature, of course, is the wallet dropdown. That makes sense. People tend to go to assets in the global nav or the accounts in the global nav as their primary places to navigate to in the global nav. We were also seeing, although it's not in the top 14% right now, we are seeing a lot of people using the search feature on our web app, which is pretty cool. I think there's some opportunities there for how we can potentially enhance the search since so many people are using it. But yeah, what you're seeing here on the feature adoption is that we have a lot of features that are tagged. As you guys know, we have a lot of features in our application. 14% of those features are getting half of the clicks. So basically where they're saying that these features are the most popular. So again, this is just the beginning. We'll start to establish baselines and reports and give you guys more information as we have it. But yeah, again, I'm monologuing, so I'm going to stop. Cool. Yeah, Willie's answering. Thanks, Willie. Yeah, so the only URL that this is capturing is app.shapeshift.com. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there and jump over to the next thing. I'm sure there might be some more questions that roll into the stage chat, but if anybody has any questions about any analytics, please feel free to always message us in the product public chat or DM us or whatever. But yeah, super excited. Lindsay's already got access too. They're working on some marketing campaigns, and I'm sure she's excited to measure the impact of some of those campaigns now that we actually have data we can look at. Cool. With that said, I'm going to hand it off to Beard. He's going to show us some of the changes that we're going to be looking at making to the trade.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, there you go. That was weird. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, great. So since we got those DeFi modals out, we have these new input types that are asset inputs.
It's just black though, for some reason.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Man, Zoom is like really slow. Is it still just black?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Do you want to try one more time? I can probably share and let you chat. And let me.
What if I do a portion of my screen?
It seems like it's not grabbing the right screen.
Okay, you might as well try then.
Okay.
Zoom hates me today.
Cool. Let me share. And then you can tell me what to do as you talk. All right. Can you see that?
Yeah, you can go to the prototype.
Yes.
And then go to the start trade on the left there.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right. I can see it, so I think that y'all can see it. All right, so when we released the new DeFi models, we added a new asset input component, which is kind of the foundation of everything. And now we're going to bring these into the trade. So you can see the balance and the asset and toggle between fiat and crypto amounts. So that's going to be implemented here on the trade input screen. And some other changes we're making here is trying to make the receive amount, your actual buy amount, more accurate. So if you go click on the little thing, we're going to show you a breakdown of exactly what is happening and why the amount you're getting is the amount you're getting when the trade is actually complete. So we'll show you the starting amount, whatever protocol fees that are involved, Thorchain or CowSwap, the slippage amount, and then obviously the ShapeShift fee, which will always be free, and then your total amount. And this is all in fiat right now, but probably could eventually do fiat and crypto. It's just easier to display the data right now. You can collapse that.
And it's worth noting we had to redo all of this because CowSwap, there is no essentially like minor fee. It handles fees differently. And Thorchain handles fees a little differently. So we just needed to make something that was flexible for all of the different protocols. Yeah, I think I said that earlier, but just saying it again.
Yeah, they all handle what amount they withdraw or take away from your actual total amount differently. So should be a nice organized way to display it. And then we've also moved the rate down, and we brought the gas fee out to the that first screen instead of showing just on confirm, which should be super helpful and great to see a nice green free when you set up a trade and it's using CowSwap. So if you go to the preview trade,
There is. We could speak to that too.
I didn't look that up yet, but so we're also we're planning on allowing you to do an unlimited or exact allowance when you do a approval. That's basically
yeah, we're starting to implement more like advanced features for user control. We also are going to be introducing advanced trade settings for like custom nonce, being able to pick your liquidity sources, being able to set your gas fee or rate, things like that. So yeah, we're trying to make everything
We've broken this down a little bit differently than how it currently is. So now the assets that you're trading are like basically the progress bar across the top, and that'll be showing you the status of the transaction. And then below that, you can see explicitly how much you're sending, how much you're receiving, including the fees. So this will be the actual amount you'll get, your rate, and then who you're going through, and then the gas fee and the ShapeShift fee. And then if you confirm, you can just basically go through like how this is basically the same as it is now. The circle will start spinning. You'll get a view on chain, which will take you right to the transaction that's happening.
Do you want me to click that?
No, you hit confirm hit that one again. Yeah.
Okay. And then once it's confirmed, you get a green check.
Yeah. So this is pretty similar to how it is now, but it's a lot more granular, easy to understand what's happening with the amounts that are being bought and sold.
Yes. And pulling in the fees and everything into the first screen is new because right now we don't show the user any of that until after they hit preview trade.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to hit this.
Experience more amazing. All right, that's it. I don't know if we've showed the actual trade settings before, have you? Or I don't remember if we've gone over them, but this is
yeah. Yes, so we're working through the spec for this right now, but being able to control max slippage, liquidity sources, gas fee. If the user's connected to Kepler and the trade would be routed through osmosis, the screen would look slightly different because they don't use GUI, of course, on osmosis. And then we're talking about adding in custom knots to the screen as well. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me check and see if there's any questions in the stage chat.
Talking about Windows stuff.
Okay, cool. Let me stop my share. All right. Up next, Willie, are you ready for your debut? I think Willie's been sitting on this concept in his head for a long time and is really excited to bring this to fruition. So we've been working through some of the details on the product side. So I will let him take the reins.
Thanks, Stiggy. GM, everybody. Yeah, this is a feature that I've been thinking about for a long time, ever since, I guess, the beginning of DeFi summer. Many of you guys have probably been thinking about this too. We've dubbed it displaying DeFi positions. So right now, when you connect your wallet to ShapeShift, you pretty much see all of the tokens in your wallet. If you go over to the DeFi overview section, you can see your active DeFi positions for the protocols we support. So like if you have Foxy, if you're deposited in your vault, if you have Cosmos staked, you will see that on the DeFi overview. But you actually don't see a lot of that information on your dashboard. And you don't see any of the information for positions for these protocols we don't yet support. So like if you have a loan on Compound, if you have tokens in a liquidity pool, if you have assets deposited into any of the staking protocols that we don't yet support, we currently don't reflect any of that. So we certainly want to support that. We think it's one of those missing features that products like Zapper and Zerion have done a great job of actually giving users a much more comprehensive view of their portfolio. But we're missing that data. So it's one of those features we think that we need so that we can retain a lot of the users that do come connect their wallets to ShapeShift. We think we can do it even better than how Zapper and Zerion are displaying this information. Also, it gets really interesting when we've talked about ShapeShift being like the cross-chain Zapper or Zerion. So it becomes pretty cool when you can not only see all of your DeFi positions on EVM networks, but also see your DeFi positions and your assets that are earning yield in Thorchain and on Osmosis and staked in Cosmos zones, and basically see a really comprehensive view of your portfolio across chains. Unfortunately, we don't have to necessarily build all this stuff from scratch. There is a great open source SDK provided by Zerion that basically has the adapters already for all these different EVM DeFi positions. Basically, they've already gone and done the work to be able to take tokens that are in your wallet, or even tokens that aren't in your wallet. But if you're just staked in a DeFi protocol and all the information's in that contract, they're able to basically, they have these adapters that can take the information from that contract and then break it into the information that we need to be able to display it in our UI. So that was a lot of background. What I want to talk to you guys about today is a very early concept we have for how we actually, once we have this data, how do we actually reflect it to the user in a way that's really useful? So how do we organize all these different types of DeFi positions? So we have, we thought this would be fun to share. It is very early stage. So I'm going to show you guys some wireframes that are in progress. We've already agreed upon some changes to these wireframes that need to be implemented. I'm sharing my screen in Zoom, by the way, if you want to check it out. I'll go ahead and post a screenshot in stage chat as well. But the core idea here is basically on your dashboard, instead of right now, you just see all of your different assets. How can we actually give users more high-level context, but also make it really easy for them to drill down and find exactly what they're looking for? So the high-level concept is we've broken down kind of all the different types of DeFi positions that you could have into just a few different categories. So we've got your wallet, of course, which is what you currently see on your desktop. These are just assets that are in your wallet that are not productive. They're not earning yield. They're not in a liquidity pool. They're not locked or anything. For all of the assets that are single-sided assets that are earning yield, we're just calling that earn. Then we have liquidity, which can handle all the different liquidity pools. So anytime you need to provide basically multiple assets, not just a single asset, because there's some different considerations when you're providing liquidity versus just staking an asset. And then we have vesting, and vesting is basically open to other names for that term, but it basically can be anytime that you have tokens that are locked. So whether you have a Savior stream, whether you're in the Give stream, whether you have tokens locked in a hedgie, whether you literally just have one of these other types of vesting, bonds also could fit into this. So when you purchase a bond, basically the asset you purchase vests. And again, Zapper does have support for a lot of these, and as well as Xerion. So basically just forward looking, so that as we have these new types of protocols, that ideally protocols are coming to add themselves, they can really easily fit into one of these buckets that will have optimized UI UX for. And then we have rewards. This could also be called claimable, but these are basically the rewards you have that are available to claim. So there's a lot of different types of DeFi protocols out there, but really all of them can fit into one of these different categories. For this, we're kind of looking at what we want to look at today is a way to like organize this. And we're looking at just the earn category, but we could use this kind of same categorization philosophy for any of these other categories. So let's look at what it would look like for earn. So here again, you can see that this user has about $62,000 in their total portfolio. Some of that's in their wallet, some of that is in their earn bucket. So they can see, this user can really quickly see, okay, I've got $3,000 worth of assets that are earning yield, and my net APR, my weighted average APR, based on all the different deposits I have in their respective APRs, is 14.2%. Let's say the user basically expands this and wants to dive deeper. So you can see here, first of all, they have the option to sort and filter by either position, aka asset, protocol, or chain. So we'll go through each of these really quickly. I'm most excited about this position view. I think this is most useful, but it can also be very useful for users just to be able to view all their stuff by protocol or by chain. And ultimately, all of these boil down to a single position. And each position, it always includes like an asset, a chain, and a protocol. So it's always the same information that they're drilling down to, but just different ways of actually organizing all this information. So for earn, you can see again, this user if they want to expand it, they can see how this 14.2% net APR and how this $3,000 of total deposits are composed. So in this example, you can see the user has $2,000 of USDC earning net APR of 6.8% and $1,000 worth of Fox earning a net APR of 25%. So this is, again, really easy. It's like you just want to see, okay, of all the assets I have in my portfolio, how much are actually put to work earning yield? Okay, cool. Even though I have USDC, both in ShapeShift and Yearn, I can see that in total, I have $2,000 worth of USDC earning 6.8% APR. Also, I'll just mention too, this is like, it's super rough. So really put this together just so that we could align on kind of the concept on the product side, but definitely there's a lot more detail and thought and polish to go into what data do we actually display in these rows. And of course, it's going to look a lot better. We're not shipping this design. So as you can see here, if the user did expand USDC, now we're kind of into the protocol level. So they can see which protocols they have their USDC in, ShapeShift and Yearn. And you can see Yearn has an extra drop down here because the user it's possible for these protocols to be deployed on multiple chains and for a user to have assets in the same protocol on multiple chains. This type of organization really gives us the ability to handle all of those. So here, if the user expands Yearn, they can see that they've got Yearn on ETH mainnet as well as Yearn on Arbitrum. I'll pause here for a moment to see if there's any questions. Looks like no questions yet, so we'll take a look at what the same data would look like if we were to instead filter by protocol. So if on the protocol view, if you expanded Earn, you would see all the different protocols that you have deposits in. So you can see again, Yearn and ShapeShift. If we expand Yearn, you can see the assets that we have in that protocol. And then if you expand the asset, you can see the chains that we have that protocol in, that we have that asset in for that protocol. Similarly, you can do it by chain. So users could see really quickly which chains they're earning yield on, and they could dive in by chain and then see the protocols. I think we actually, after putting together this high level concept, we talked about it on product and we agreed having the asset level again under the chain is probably still the best way to go there. So you'd expand Ethereum mainnet, and then you would see USDC Fox. And then if you expanded USDC Fox, you would actually see those final positions on the protocol within that asset and within that chain. So yeah, super curious to hear everyone's thoughts on this. Like, would this be useful for you? Is there any better way that you think that we could basically organize all this information? We like giving users the path to be the option to be able to kind of categorize at the high level by position, protocol, or chain.
Hunt is asking how we would display positions if we were to integrate perp.
Yes. So perp protocol, that would be liquidity providing, correct? Like that's the way that you can earn yield on perp, is by providing liquidity, or is it by staking a single asset? That's really what would.
He said if you were leveraged.
If you were leveraged. So when you're leveraged, I think that's basically the way that these, I haven't actually traded on these perp protocols. I try to avoid leverage personally because I'm not the best trader. But you're basically trading for an asset, right? That's how they denominate these things. You basically like trade ETH for ETH 3x or ETH negative 3x. Is that right? And you're not earning yield, right? You're basically, if anything, you're paying fees for however long you're holding that asset. Okay, yeah. So that would just be a regular asset in your wallet is how we would display that, because it's not a single asset deposited to earn yield, and it's not multiple assets deposited to a liquidity pool to earn trading fees.
But he is saying it's leveraged out, so maybe a new area or category could exist for that. That's interesting.
That is definitely interesting. Yeah, potentially we could have a category for leverage. Basically, that could definitely be interesting. By default, though, it would fit nicely into just the wallet view, because it would just be a regular asset, and you'd be able to see basically like the value of that asset, the price, performance, and everything over the past period.
And then the other question, his PTT was asking, will IBC assets be considered separate chains? And then Eric was suggesting that IBC be grouped under Cosmos.
So definitely, like, each native asset would be its own chain, its own layer one. But for assets that are IBC assets, or similarly like for tokens that you can have on some of these Cosmos zones, we would treat those, I think, similarly, like just like we treat ERC20 tokens on Ethereum, basically, like, yeah, because technically those are assets on the other chain. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions or feedback?
Hunt thinks a leverage category would bring in the degens. Definitely something to consider.
Yeah, it's a great point. And that's the type of stuff we can. The next steps for this, if we like this, we're going to continue kind of fleshing this out on the product side, make our best educated guesses on assumptions on what we think is the best data to display, basically, and really flesh out the full UI UX for this. And then we'll be user testing and things like a category for leverage and stuff. That would be the type of thing that would also come a little bit later, because I don't think these like Zerion SDK has any special adapters for these leverage tokens. I think they just treat them as assets, but that'd be something we discover. And then we need to integrate the protocols ourselves. So eventually the vision, of course, is to enable users to access these protocols directly from within our interface as well. So they don't have to go to all these protocols, and so that from one interface, users can find the best opportunities for their assets, including being able to filter by chain or filter by protocol. But initially, this is some, I don't want to say low hanging fruit, because it's not necessarily a low lift, but in terms of I have seen projects that are able to basically take the Zerion DeFi SDK and very quickly, in early stages, be able to show you the same data that you get from Zerion. So I'm excited for this, because I do think it's been one of those kind of core missing features that a lot of the users were trying to attract these power DeFi users. When they connect their wallet to ShapeShift, they just don't see that data that they want to see. They don't see a comprehensive view of their portfolio. And so I think it's a core missing feature that we need to catch up on. Fortunately, this SDK is open source and we can use it. Then after we support that, the focus goes back towards actually giving users access to use these, to enter these positions and these opportunities from our UI, so that we can both have the best app where users can do everything they want from one place, but also get the affiliate revs.
Exactly. Yeah. But like Willie said, the first part is displaying the positions. It's obviously going to be a massive undertaking. And that's one of the reasons we're dividing it up. So displaying the positions is just the first part. Cool. Let me see if there's any other questions. Okay, no other questions right now. So next up, Decentralized Jay is going to show us what he's been working on with revenue streams and calculations. Oh, I have to invite him up.
Everybody. Thank you, Diggy. So I'll keep this quick-ish because now that we have Pendo numbers, it's really going to start to change what this looks like. Let me share my screen and just kind of show off what this is starting to look like. So the idea here in talking with people around the DAO is to create kind of a one-stop shop for us to be able to punch in numbers, like really as few numbers as possible, to kind of get a feel for where the DAO is in terms of monthly revenue. So really the idea, to quote DeFi, is to say, let's parameterize this. And so over the past week or two, been digging down and trying to get to what I call like base level 0, which is saying, all right, if I punch in just one number, can I get to the point where it actually forecasts out an entire month of juice for us? So I just punched in the number of monthly users that we're seeing currently on Pendo based on what Diggy just showed us. And so keep in mind that these numbers are very much subject to change, given that now we have an actual amount of users that are on the platform, and we can begin to kind of drill down into what the average spend will be per user, per individual application. Meaning, can we forecast, and we will be able to forecast and kind of predict based on, if we have 2,000 users and we're doing we're doing 10 million of trade volume per month, how much money per user is that per month in terms of trade volume? And same thing with banks, fiat on-ramp, off-ramps, Yearn, etc. So we'll be able to actually forecast out and get a really good sense of what users are actually using and how they're contributing to the platform itself. So with this in mind, all of this stuff will really start to change over the next month as data rolls in, as we kind of build out a profile of what our average user looks like. And then from there, we can just punch in, like I said, goal seek 0, where base level 0, where you have, you can just punch in the number of monthly users and everything will be parameterized out such that as we go along, we can get kind of a good feel on what revenue looks like. Huge thank you to Darwin, Kent, and everyone else involved in tokenomics for, working on this sheet. All the numbers pulled directly off of it. And then as we kind of move along, there's a lot of stuff that's in flight down here that doesn't have anything input yet, as new revenue streams are unlocked for the DAO. So a lot more changes to be made here, and the Yearn will be the trickiest. But the idea, like I said, is to just get to a point where we can just forecast it out, punch in one number, and everything kind of falls from there as we look to really build and acquire users across the board. So that's kind of where the focus has been over the last couple weeks on this front. So happy to answer any questions on it as it progresses and as we are able to build out what our average user looks like. We'll obviously, this is open source, and so we'll share that with anyone who wants to see it, of course, as well. So yeah, that's kind of what we've been up to on that front.
Can you put a link to that in our Notion so that anybody can access it?
Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks. Awesome. I don't see any questions in the stage chat. So next up, we have Gray Machine. He's been working on a bunch of marketing stuff. And in addition to helping out on the product side, I'll invite him up. Hello.
Hello, Jim. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Let me share the screen. This should go pretty quickly. This is pretty standard stuff every couple weeks here. Just pulling up the Notion page. Mostly, my eyes have been on the This UI disappears when I. Can I move that? Oh, there we go. Marketing content production. So when products go out, this is actually a gallery view. Let me switch back to a table view. Oh, not a table view. Or more production. Okay. So I think I've shown this before, but we kind of easier on myself. I actually made a new, here we go. Gallery that's just based on a 2-week sprint, right? So this will just kind of pull together all the design work that's happened over the last 2 weeks, or about that or so. So I don't need to go through all of them, but of note, I've kind of tried to start diversifying into adding some more illustrations to our kind of our pool of things that we pull from. So pulling in new assets and kind of combining some old assets to kind of unify and make things feel a little bit, kind of along our branding guidelines. So there was a few different ones that I've been pulling together. This one's still in progress. This obviously just says Avalanche, but we're, nearing the Avalanche launch, so we're getting going on that. And some of these are kind of older things that we are mixing new stuff with. And that's pretty much it. The big Doge launch come in. So spent a lot of time doing Doge stuff and as Doge memes, because this is Doge. Yeah, that's really about it. I'll put a link to this if anybody wants to take a look at this gallery. I'll keep this updated, so this will always be kind of like the last couple weeks. Right now, it's tentatively anything after mid-month. This will automatically pull everything into a gallery. So I'll drop that in stage chat, and I'm also going to check to see if there's probably not any questions because I'm just showing pictures. But nope, that's it. That's really all I got.
Cool. Thanks, Gray. And then a side note, as you guys know, Hoff has moved back to part-time. He works mostly morning hours now, but he's been doing a lot of work on ShapeShift.com, and he's been working with the LATAM guys. We've got, I think, 3 languages up now on the website on ShapeShift.com. We've got Portuguese, French, and Spanish. And then on top of that, they've been tackling some SEO things. Hoff in particular went through 3 of our most landed upon pages from Google search and went through and updated those pages to have relevant up-to-date information and making sure they're pointing at app.shapeshift.com instead of beta. And then been doing a bunch of other things around shapeshift.com. So at the next office hours, I will kind of aggregate all of that work together to do like a showcase on all of the things that we've been working on shapeshift.com. And that's it, I think. Cool. If there are no questions in the stage chat, now if there's any other questions from the community, feel free to hop up here on stage or pop them in the stage chat. Otherwise, we can call it for office hours. And we still have 12 minutes to spare. Woohoo! Thanks, everybody, for joining, and we'll see you here again in 2 weeks.
Jam.